shocking truth of Joan Crawford's forbidden lesbian love affairs. Joan Crawford's real name was Lucille Fay LeSueur. She was born in San Antonio, Texas around 1904-1908. Her exact birth year remains disputed. Joan Crawford's origins were a stark contrast to the glamour she would later embody. Her childhood was one of instability and hardship. Her father abandoned the family early on, and her mother remarried multiple times, providing Lucille with little in the way of security or consistent affection. They moved frequently, living in poverty. Young Lucille worked from a tender age, doing grueling chores, including labor in a laundry. A physically demanding job that left a lasting impression of the sheer effort required for survival. Education was sporadic and secondary to the need to earn a living. This difficult upbringing instilled in her a ferocious drive, a deep-seated need for control, and an almost desperate ambition to escape her circumstances. She dreamed of a different life, a life of beauty, recognition, and security, a life utterly removed from the grim realities of her youth. Her escape route came through dance, possessing natural rhythm and a striking physical presence. She found work as a dancer in various theatrical troupes, eventually making her way to the chorus lines of Broadway. It was there, performing in New York, that her captivating looks and raw energy were spotted by a talent scout for Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer. In 1925, she signed a contract with the most prestigious studio in Hollywood and headed west, leaving Lucille LeSueur and her difficult past behind. Upon arriving at MGM, the process of transformation began immediately. The studio quickly spotted a problem: her name. MGM publicity head Pete Smith thought LeSueur sounded fake, or worse, made him think of a sewer. He hosted a public contest called Name the Star in Movie Weekly magazine, letting readers pick her new stage name. The first winning name, Joan Arden, didn't work out when another actress claimed it first. Crawford became the backup choice. Crawford later said she hated the name because it reminded her of crawfish, but she liked the security it gave her. A magazine competition that paid between $50 and $500 to the winner erased Lucille LeSueur and created Joan Crawford, the star. The name change was just the beginning of Crawford's transformation. She went through many physical changes, including dental work that supposedly involved removing her back molars to create instant cheekbones and eye procedures to get her famous stare. These changes gave MGM the perfect canvas to create their star. Crawford wasn't happy with her small roles at first, so she launched her own publicity campaign. MGM screenwriter Frederica Segor-Mas put it best: "No one decided to make Joan Crawford a star. Joan Crawford became a star because Joan Crawford decided to become a star." Her plan worked perfectly. She threw herself into Hollywood's social scene and won hotel dance competitions to become the industry's top flapper. This smart move paid off when audiences noticed her in Edmund Goulding's Sally, Irene and Mary, 1925. The late 1920s brought more success. Crawford became one of 1926's Wampas baby stars, along with Mary Astor, Dolores Del Rio, and Janet Gaynor. Crawford knew how to adapt. The Great Depression ended the carefree flapper era, so she moved toward more sophisticated roles. She changed her speaking style too, practicing for hours to replace her southwestern drawl with the popular mid-Atlantic accent. Her perseverance paid off. After a series of small parts, her career exploded with the silent film Our Dancing Daughters in 1928, playing Diana Medford, a wealthy, energetic young woman embodying the spirit of the roaring 20s flapper. Joan Crawford became an overnight sensation. She captured the zeitgeist of the youth culture: independent, lively, rebellious. Audiences, particularly young women, adored her, flocking to see her films and emulating her style. She quickly transitioned successfully to talkies, proving her voice was as captivating as her screen presence. MGM capitalized on her popularity, casting her in a string of hit films throughout the 1930s. She became known for portraying resilient, often working-class women who overcame adversity, archetypes that resonated deeply with audiences, particularly female ones. Films like Grand Hotel 1932, where she held her own against legends like Greta Garbo and John Barrymore, solidified her dramatic chops. Sadie McKee 1934, Mannequin 1937, and The Women 1939, an iconic all-female cast film known for its sharp dialogue and powerful performances, showcased her evolving range and cemented her image as a symbol of determined womanhood. She transitioned from the vivacious flapper to a more mature, often hardened yet sympathetic figure, embodying strength and perseverance. By the 1940s, she had earned a reputation as one of the toughest, most competitive stars in Hollywood, battling for roles and demanding scripts that showcased her talents. Part of the landscape of her career was her legendary, decades-long rivalry with fellow MGM star Bette Davis, fueled by studio publicity and their own clashing personalities and professional ambitions. Their animosity was palpable and became the stuff of Hollywood legend, highlighting the intense pressure and competition faced by leading actresses vying for limited prime roles and the top spot at the studio. This rivalry, while public, also underscored the complex dynamics and hidden tensions that simmered beneath the surface of the studio system. Alongside her glittering, hard-won career, Joan Crawford's personal life was a subject of constant public fascination and, often, sensationalism. She embarked on a series of high-profile marriages to prominent men, presenting herself to the world as a woman seeking love, family, and stability, a seemingly conventional pursuit for a star of her magnitude. Her first marriage to Douglas Fairbanks Jr., the dashing son of screen royalty, in 1929, was a union of Hollywood glamour, elevating her social status. This was followed by marriages to actors Franchot Tone and Philip Terry. Her longest and arguably most significant marriage, particularly for her later public image, was to Alfred Steele, the wealthy chairman of PepsiCo, from 1955 until his death in 1959. These marriages, widely covered by the press, painted a picture of a woman constantly searching for her place, presenting a facade of traditional relationships to the public. She also publicly embraced motherhood, adopting 4 children, Christina, Christopher, Kathy, and Cindy. This further solidified her image as a woman who, despite her demanding career, yearned for family life. Studio publicity often featured carefully staged photos of Joan as a loving mother, a contrast to the glamorous, sometimes tough-as-nails screen persona. However, even during her lifetime, whispers circulated about a different side of Joan Crawford's personal life, a side that didn't fit neatly into the narrative of heterosexual marriages and conventional motherhood. These whispers hinted at a secret world, a hidden reality that, if exposed, could have brought her carefully constructed empire crashing down. Behind the veneer of public perfection, it was rumored Joan Crawford was involved in romantic and sexual relationships with women. This is the shocking truth, not confirmed by Joan Crawford herself, who publicly maintained her heterosexual identity, but vehemently alleged by various sources over the years that painted a far more complex picture of her private life. And the reason this was a forbidden truth, a secret guarded with ruthless intensity, lies deep within the oppressive climate of old Hollywood and the societal norms of the era. Understanding why these alleged relationships were forbidden is crucial to grasping the magnitude of the secret. In the decades when Joan Crawford reigned supreme, roughly the 1930s through the 1950s, Hollywood operated under the strict code of conduct, enforced by the studios. These morality clauses in actors' contracts gave studios immense power to control their private lives. Any behavior deemed immoral or scandalous by the prevailing social standards could result in suspension, termination, and being blacklisted from the industry. Homosexuality, at the time, was widely considered not just immoral, but deviant, perverse, even a mental illness. It was criminalized in many places. For a major movie star, whose image was their most valuable asset, being openly gay or bisexual was simply unthinkable. It would have shattered the carefully cultivated image of a heterosexual sex symbol, a woman desired by men, which was essential for her box office appeal. Joan Crawford, perhaps more than any other star, was a product of her own relentless image management. She had built Joan Crawford from the ground up, escaping poverty and obscurity through sheer will. Protecting that creation was paramount. Any hint of a deviation from the heterosexual norm would not only have triggered the morality clauses in her contract, leading to potential financial ruin and career death, but it would have alienated the vast majority of her audience, who were conditioned to accept and admire stars who conformed to traditional roles. The risk was existential. Therefore, if Joan Crawford did indeed have relationships with women, they had to exist in a deeply hidden world, conducted with extreme secrecy and constant vigilance. The pressure of maintaining this double life, of always being on guard, of fearing exposure with every interaction, must have been immense. It would have required a level of control and paranoia that could easily shape a personality, perhaps contributing to the demanding, sometimes volatile nature she was known for in private. The claims about Joan Crawford's lesbian affairs did not originate from her own confession, but rather emerged gradually from various sources, adding layers to the mystery after her death. These sources include controversial memoirs, biographies written by Hollywood historians, persistent industry gossip, and accounts from individuals who claim to have been close to her or witnessed aspects of her private life. It's important to note that these claims are often disputed and not universally accepted as fact, but they are so prevalent and specific in certain accounts that they form a significant part of the narrative surrounding her private secrets. One of the most frequently cited alleged relationships was with fellow screen legend Barbara Stanwyck. Both women were powerhouses, known for their incredible talent, resilience, and having climbed their way to the top from modest backgrounds. They were contemporaries and colleagues, but weren't direct rivals in the way Crawford and Davis were. Some biographers and Hollywood insiders have claimed that their close friendship extended into a romantic and sexual relationship. Accounts refer to periods of intense closeness, frequent visits, shared vacations, and a deep mutual understanding that, according to these sources, went beyond platonic affection. They were two strong, independent women in a male-dominated industry who understood the unique pressures and sacrifices required for survival and success. Whispers suggested they found solace and perhaps even intimacy in each other's company, creating a private space away from the performative nature of their public lives. Sources citing former employees or associates recounted seeing signs they interpreted as indicative of a romantic involvement. Another prominent name linked to Joan Crawford in rumors was the enigmatic and overtly rebellious Marlene Dietrich. Dietrich, known for her more fluid approach to sexuality and gender expression, was a stark contrast to Crawford's carefully manicured conventionality. They worked together on Alfred Hitchcock's film Stage Fright in 1950. While their on-screen dynamic in the film hinted at a certain tension, off-screen rumors circulated about a passionate, if perhaps brief, encounter or ongoing connection between them. Dietrich herself was more open about her bisexuality than almost anyone else in Hollywood at the time, and some accounts suggest a mutual attraction existed between the two divas, drawn to each other's power and mystique. Despite their vastly different public personas, these rumors, though perhaps less detailed than those regarding Stanwyck, persisted within certain Hollywood circles, adding another layer to the portrait of Crawford's alleged hidden desires. Adding another intriguing layer to the complex tapestry of her alleged private life, some reports and historical gossip suggest a fascination, perhaps even a brief encounter, between Joan Crawford and the ultimate blonde bombshell of a younger generation, Marilyn Monroe. Their paths reportedly first crossed at a dinner hosted by Joe Schenck, a powerful film executive. According to Marilyn Monroe's alleged autobiography, My Story, published posthumously, she was immediately impressed by Crawford, stating, "I met Joan Crawford at Joe Schenck's house. She was an impressive woman. I hoped that when I was her age I would keep my looks as well as she had." This initial impression from Monroe suggests admiration for the older star's enduring presence and beauty. Following this meeting, Crawford reportedly invited Monroe to her home, ostensibly to offer help with wardrobe. Monroe, perhaps expecting lavish hand-me-downs, instead received fashion tips. "Brown would look very good on you." Crawford is quoted as telling Monroe, while showing her knitted dickies in various shades, offering advice like, "The biggest problem about dressing well is to see that everything you wear is just right." Crawford's counsel often focused on proper etiquette and taste, with comments like, "It's so easy not to look vulgar." This particular remark took on added significance when Crawford later publicly criticized Monroe's daring gold dress at the 1953 Golden Globes ceremony, famously calling it like a burlesque show. Crawford appeared to take on a somewhat critical, perhaps even condescending, mentor-like role towards the younger, less polished star. It is here, amidst these interactions, that claims of a more intimate connection arise, albeit with conflicting accounts. Biographer Fred Lawrence Giles, in his book Legend: The Life and Death of Marilyn Monroe, claimed that Crawford made a sexual pass at Monroe during one of her visits to Crawford's home, which Monroe allegedly rejected. This sensational claim fueled speculation about a hidden dimension to their relationship. However, Giles himself later contradicted this account in a subsequent book, Joan Crawford: The Last Word. His later narrative included inconsistencies regarding the timing of the alleged pass, the frequency of Monroe's visits to Crawford's house, and Monroe's relationship status at the time. In The Last Word, Giles even questioned his earlier claim, writing that Monroe might have misunderstood Crawford's intentions, suggesting her gesture could have been misinterpreted. These contradictions from the same biographer significantly weaken the credibility of the sexual pursuit narrative, suggesting it may have originated from speculation or misinterpretation rather than substantiated fact. What seems clearer from various accounts is Monroe's consistent admiration for Crawford. Despite the older star's sometimes harsh public commentary, Charlotte Chandler's 2009 Crawford biography notes that Monroe spoke of Crawford with genuine respect, particularly admiring her decision to adopt children, an act that resonated deeply with Monroe, given her own difficult childhood in foster care. Monroe reportedly nicknamed Crawford St. Joan Crawford. Furthermore, Monroe handled Crawford's public criticism of her Golden Globes dress with remarkable grace. Rather than lashing out, she expressed surprise, checked with friends to see if the criticism was widely shared, and chose to forgive a lady who had once been young and seductive herself, viewing Crawford's remarks through a lens of empathy for the pressures of aging in Hollywood. Evidence points to a more nuanced, complex relationship between the two women, one marked by Crawford's unsolicited advice and occasional public criticism, and Monroe's consistent respect, admiration, and understanding. While the claim of a direct sexual encounter is highly debatable and lacks consistent credible sourcing, the interaction between these two vastly different, yet equally iconic, women adds another layer to the public and private dynamics of Hollywood, hinting at potential attractions, power plays, or simply misinterpretations in a world where everything was scrutinized and often sensationalized. It contributes to the fascinating picture of Joan Crawford's complex private world and the potential for hidden connections beneath the surface. Beyond these famous names, there were also whispers and claims in various accounts about relationships with women outside the industry, perhaps with personal assistants or close female friends. These relationships, if they existed, would have been even easier to conceal, less likely to attract the kind of attention that a liaison between two major stars might eventually generate. The sheer number of such alleged connections, spread across different periods of her life and mentioned in various sources, paints a picture of a woman whose emotional and sexual needs may have extended beyond her public marriages to men. Living this alleged secret life must have come at an immense personal cost. The constant fear of exposure, the need to compartmentalize her life, the potential for emotional isolation inherent in hiding such a fundamental part of oneself. These factors likely contributed to the complexities of Joan Crawford's personality. Her infamous need for rigid control, her demanding nature, and her sometimes turbulent private relationships, including the highly controversial ones with her adoptive children, particularly Christina, as documented in Mommy Dearest, can, perhaps, be viewed through the lens of a woman under unimaginable pressure, constantly on guard, unable to fully be herself. The tension between her carefully manufactured public image and her alleged hidden reality must have been a perpetual source of strain. Every decision, every interaction, potentially held the risk of shattering the fragile illusion she had worked so hard to maintain. As Joan Crawford's career entered its later stages, transitioning from leading lady roles to character parts and even appearances in low-budget horror films, her grip on the traditional Hollywood system loosened. She famously reignited her rivalry with Bette Davis in the chilling classic Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, 1962, a role that earned her an Oscar nomination and proved she could still command the screen, even when playing a washed-up, tormented former star. After the death of her fourth husband, Alfred Steele, she reduced her film appearances and lived a more secluded life in New York City, largely away from the Hollywood spotlight. In her final years, she battled various health issues, a common fate for many stars who lived hard and endured immense pressure. Joan Crawford passed away from a heart attack on May 8, 1977, in New York. Her death marked the end of an era, but the drama surrounding her life was far from over. Just a year after her death, her eldest adoptive daughter, Christina Crawford, published a memoir titled Mommy Dearest. The book painted a harrowing picture of Joan as a cruel, abusive, narcissistic, and controlling mother, addicted to alcohol and obsessed with her image. Mommy Dearest was a massive bestseller and ignited a firestorm of controversy. While its accuracy was fiercely debated, Some of Joan's other children and friends defended her, claiming Christina's account was exaggerated or fabricated. The book irrevocably shattered the public image of the devoted star mother. Crucially, Mommy Dearest also contained passages that hinted at or directly mentioned Joan Crawford's alleged sexual relationships with women. The book brought these long-whispered rumors out of the shadows and into mainstream public discourse, adding another, deeply scandalous layer to the already shocking portrait of her private life. Whether entirely accurate or not, Christina's book forced the public to confront the possibility that the glamorous, controlled exterior of Joan Crawford hid not only potential maternal cruelty, but also a secret sexual identity that was deemed taboo and dangerous in her time. This post-mortem revelation, fueled by a sensational book, ensured that the shocking truth about Joan Crawford's alleged forbidden loves became a lasting, albeit controversial, part of her legacy. Joan Crawford remains a towering figure in cinema history, an icon of perseverance, glamour, and formidable talent. Her journey from poverty to unparalleled stardom is undeniably inspiring. Yet, the story of her alleged forbidden love affairs, whispered about during her life and sensationally revealed after her death, adds a profound layer of complexity and, indeed, tragedy to her narrative. It serves as a powerful reminder of the immense pressure faced by stars in the old Hollywood system, where public image was paramount and private lives were ruthlessly policed. The need to hide a fundamental aspect of oneself, to live in fear of exposure, casts a long shadow over the glittering image she projected to the world. The existence of these persistent rumors, supported by various accounts, speaks to a hidden reality of old Hollywood, where conformity was demanded but genuine human desires existed nonetheless. Joan Crawford's alleged secret life is not just a scandalous footnote, it is a crucial element in understanding the full, complicated picture of the woman behind the legend, a woman who built an empire on a carefully curated image, while potentially navigating a world of hidden passion and forbidden love, forever marked by the sacrifices required to survive and conquer in a system that demanded absolute control and conformity. Her story, in all its glamour and its alleged secrets, continues to fascinate, a testament to the enduring mysteries that lie beneath the surface of fame.